Hey sexy people, welcome back. Right, issue 61. So we're into our new campaign here. Right, let's get rid of that. Yeah, so we're into our new campaign. There's the plastic. We've seen the plastic before. I will just quickly go over that. And I'll show you. Let me just take that out because I'm going to need that. Right, let's have a look at the magazine. We've got a trifold here. Veteran 01. So these are now, I'm assuming they're going to be bigger missions. Here we go. Yeah, significantly bigger missions. Right, okay. Have a look at that in a moment. Okie dokie. Right, read about the Inquisition. Build and paint your Tombblade. Brand new mission pack. Right, the Inquisition. So we all know that the Inquisition are sneaky beaky, burn the heretic type people. They're not your friends, let's put it that way. So yeah, factions 01 for the red section. No battle card because obviously this is Tombblade number 3 for the ones that we've had previously, and we've already had a battle card for the Tombblades as a unit. Manask, War Zones, B section 11. Festering Hordes, C Stories 15. A demonic infestation has overrun the orbital shipyards above Harangir. Foreseeing the contamination of this valuable world, Grey Knights have dispatched a strike force to cleanse the docks before Nurgle's foul contagion makes its way to the teeming population below. There you go. Grey Knights. Love them. Right, how to build Tombblade. So we get how to build, how to paint. Fairly basic. There you go. Right, faction rules. Green section. Necrons rules. Cryptek Arcana. Cryptek Arcana are a series of optional abilities that can be granted to Cryptek units in order to make them more powerful. Bear in mind that these abilities come with an associated power level cost, which must be paid in order to use them. See the following rules and tutorial. Okay, so that's interesting. Gives you a tutorial there. Factions A05. Adeptus Sororitas rules. Blessings of the Faithful. Blessings of the Faithful are a series of optional abilities that can be granted to your canoness to bolster friendly units and weaken foes. Bear in mind that these abilities come with an associated power level cost which must be paid in order to use them. So we get a tutorial for those as well. Right, Battleforged Army rules, information, command points. Battle forging your army, an example here using the Necrons that we've already collected. Right, Scout and Engage. Now this says Veteran 02. So let's have a look at, before we get ahead of ourselves, Veteran 01. Veteran Mission Pack. Kajalma's Skull is a barren death world with a thin atmosphere. Unlike the moons of Gliantha, it is almost completely uninhabited. Unbeknownst to the Imperium, a long dormant Necron tomb complex lies beneath its surface. Now the Necrons have returned to Kajalma's Skull to reactivate its technological terrors. So Kajalma's Skull was featured in the 2 short stories that were part of the second opt-out. Which I quite happily bought. I've read them and they were okay. Veteran mission rules. All veteran missions are waged by following the sequence below. Determine your battle size, muster your armies, read the mission briefing, place objective markers, create the battlefield, select secondary objectives, determine attacker and defender, choose deployment zone, declare reserves and reinforcements, and deploy armies. You then determine first turn, resolve pre-battle abilities, begin the battle, ending the battle, and determine the victor. You've got 25 power detachment and a 50 power detachment examples here. As I understand it, those that are in red are compulsory units that you have to take. And then these are the stratagems that are available. So yeah, there you go. Right, secondary objectives as well. Bingo. Right, so that's that. Let's pop that to the side. Scout and engage. Imperial forces have begun to land upon Kajalma's skull. Their dropships using the planet's violent dust storms to evade Necron fire. The 1st Space Marine, Adeptus Sororitas and Adeptus Mechanicus warriors have already begun scouting the foothills of the Dead World's mountain ranges and made contact with Necron defenders. Imperial forces must deal with the first wave of Necron defenders, seize ground and hold it until more of their allies arrive. So Necrons repel the incursion. Unbeknownst to the Imperium, Kajalma's skull hides a subterranean Necron tomb world. Though this facility has been largely destroyed by geological activity, sections have been restored to life. Necrons must prevent the Imperium from locating and breaching their stronghold in the Ramsar system. And for the Imperium, establish a foothold or a beachhead, as it should really be called, with battle still raging on the moons of Gleanthea. A new front is about to open. The Ultramarines Vanguard have discovered a Necron presence in and around a long-abandoned research facility. The Imperium has dispatched forces to secure the site and forge a beachhead on the planet's surface. I will say that the Vanguard Marines, I'm assuming they're incursors or something, or infiltrators, were featured in the Kajalma's Skull short story. Right, establish control, mission briefing. Necron patrols have encountered Imperial forces approaching their battle lines. The Overlord orders his troops to intercept them and clear the battlefield of their presence before they can establish a foothold that will allow them to land more reinforcements. Create battlefield, locate your battle mat and place terrain on it as shown in the image below. So you're going to be using the battle mat that you got with issue 58. You're using one Hemotrope reactor and all of the Sector Mechanicus ruined buildings. Looks like there's 2 objective markers, and then deployment zones are on the short edges of the battle map. So there you go. That's it, and you're going to obviously create and run this battle using the rules that were given to you here. Right, and then we're getting the 2 paints in 62, and then 63 is the first part of the Vanguard Space Marines. So we're getting an Eliminator and a Suppressor and these guys, which, as I say, I can't remember if they're infiltrators or incursors or whatever. Let me bring you down a quick look at the plastic, which we've seen, and for this video I will, because we've already painted our Tombblade up to a battle ready standard, what we'll do is we'll start adding in extra details to bring it up to parade ready standard. So there you go. You get your flying base. Again, I don't like these small ones for such a large model, so I've basically placed, I had some 50mm bases that I have put these onto to give them greater stability. And then the plastic itself, it's 2011 sculpt. you get quite a few weapons. I have previously mentioned in another video that because of such tiny little connecting parts, magnetite, and the fact that they populate different areas for different weapons. So for example, this weapon is populated on the rear stabilizers, but this particular weapon is on the front. Magnetizing these I felt would be really complicated, because there's a lot to magnetize. There'll be a lot of magnets that you would need to use, and with the small connectivity I felt it best to I just followed the instructions in the magazine. So this will give me one of each weapon type, so the final weapon type will be used on the third Tombblade. So that's what they look like. Let's get into the paint video and bring these up to a higher standard. Howdy doody. Okay, so we are going to paint up our Tombblade to a parade ready standard. I have sanded the base off camera, and I've applied a couple of coats of Mournfang Brown to this to help seal in the sand to stop it from rubbing off so easily. And I've also added this little tiny skull from the Tyranids set. First thing I'm going to do with my Tombblade is I'm going to add the brass onto my pilot, and in order to keep a uniformity throughout the army, I'm going to obviously put the brass on in the same locations that I have with the warriors. So here's rib cage and basically the armour panels over the legs and arms, and then the armour panel which is over the flat of the wrist here, and they're going to be basically where I'm going to put Rune Lord brass on the mini, and then once that's dry it will get a wash with Agrax Earthshade. So you're probably going to need to do a couple of coats to make sure you build up a good colour. And obviously, like I said, it's going to be on these armour plates, armour panels, which are like on the biceps, the forearms, and I'm going to do the rib cage, the thighs, and on the lower leg, the shins, calf. There's also an armour plate just over the knuckles on the hand that's going to get, and ordinarily I would do the armour plate that goes over the top of the foot, and I can just about reach that. So yeah, come back in a second, all those will be done. Okie dokie, right, what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start highlighting up the black, and I'm actually going to highlight it up with green. So I'm going to start off with fairly broad highlights with Caliban green, just to go over the fact, to accentuate the fact that the Necrons are powered with a green armour. Sorry, not a green armour, a green power source. So I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it, but when I did the spider, I had a black base and then highlighted it, edge highlighted it using successive highlights of green. So I'm kind of hoping you can see that. It's subtle, but I think it's effective. So I'm literally, all of the black is going to start getting Caliban green, edge highlight, and then I'll go up with a moot green, and from there I will use the Warpstone Glow, I should say, will be the next one. So Warpstone Glow will be the next one, and then I'll do an extreme highlight of moot green, very thin and subtle, hopefully. But I'm going to crack on, and literally everywhere that is black is going to start getting edge highlights, and this is probably going to be the step that's going to take the longest time. So come back and hopefully we'll have started. Right, I've gone round, done all the panel lining or the edge highlighting with the Caliban green. I'm now going to come in with moot green. So I keep calling it moot green. I'm now going to come in with Warpstone Glow to add in a slightly thinner highlight over the top. So that's going to give that subtle effect. And again, I'm going to go around and do all the sharpest edges on the model. So this will take obviously another little bit of time. So come back and hopefully it'll all be done. So we have done all the Warpstone Glow. Got it right this time, yay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in now with the moot green to do an extreme edge highlight, you know, and just in sparingly. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and do the XxxX Earthshade over the brass areas that I painted on the pilot, just so he matches my other warrior figures. I keep things the same throughout the army. So, come back in a sec. So, XxxX Earthshade on the brass. And once that's dry, I'll start highlighting all the metallics. What I am going to do is use the Tesseract Glow to paint onto all the green glow effects, and then once that's dry I'm going to use a Athonian Camo shade to go over the green glow, just to give a demarcation line that will help define the glow slightly better. So, right, there you go. Now, Tesseract Glow, I think I've mentioned before, it can be really gunky. So, I do recommend giving it a really good stir with the back end of a paintbrush as well, because you can, I don't know if you can see that, there's a lot of the pigment settles with this, or at least that's what I found. so that's better. Let's just drop some on there. Right, close that up. Now, I'm now going to use the Tesseract Glow, as I said, to go over all the glow effects. So the glow effects on the weapons, these orbs, and I'm also just going to use it to go over the writing which is on these panels. So come back, and hopefully the XxxX Earthshade will be dry and the Tesseract Glow will be ready to receive the Athenian camo shade. I've changed my mind about using Athenian camo shade. I don't think it was quite green enough for what I wanted. So I'm coming in with Biltang Green, and all I'm going to do is just basically use this kind of like around edges where there might be a line, and this will just help the bright green settle in. To the Mini, especially somewhere like on these. So there is a line there. I'm obviously just going to use it to kind of panel line bits and pieces as well, and that would just help define these areas. So I'm going to crack on and finish this up, and then hopefully when it's dry we can come back and start highlighting the metal. Okay. And whilst I'm here, so we painted some of the cabling dark green, and I'm just going to come in and do a highlight on it with Warpstone Glow, just to give it like so. Now I'm going to leave that to dry and then we'll come back to it. Going to do a bit of work on the base whilst we wait for certain things to dry. So first off I'm going to dry brush. Now as I said earlier, the sand, so obviously rocks are super glued on. I'll let that dry for 24 hours. Then just PVA, dip it in sand. I've added the Tyranid skull as well. And literally I'm just going to now, it's had a couple of coats of Mornfang brown. So literally we're going to start dry brushing the base. So it's going to get a fairly heavy dry brush of the Zandri dust, which is what I normally use. I'm not too fussed about the skull at the moment. I'll come back to that once I've done all the dry brushing and get the messiest bit of painting the base over and done with first. Then I can come back and work on the skull. So, nice heavy dry brush. And then I'm going to come in, I'm not going to wash my brush. Now there's a reason why you don't wash if you're going successive highlights, don't wash your brush in between, for the very simple reason being is that if you make this wet, you're then going to have to wait until it's fully dry before you can use it. And then I'm just going to have a quick over brush like this. Okay, so that's what I'm doing there. Let's just clean the brush off. Now, I'm going to come in and I'm going to paint the skull with Wraithbone. So, once the skull has had a couple of good coats, I'm then going to give it a wash. So there we go. Right, skull, first paint down, first coat down. Come back in a second. Whilst we are waiting for the painted skull to dry, we are just going to start painting our rim, and I always paint a black rim on my bases. So again, this will probably need a couple of coats. To get a good consistency, good solid colour down. Right, okay. Coming in, all I'm going to use is Seraphim Sepia to give the skull a wash, just to darken the recesses. Right, and we're just going to let that dry now. Right, wash is dry, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just do a little light dry brushing with Wraithbone over the skull. And I'm also then going to come in with a lighter dry brush of Orthwin Grey. So just doing that. and then a little bit of Ulthwin Grey just to give it that bleached out appearance. Like thus. Finally, I am going to add in some tufts, and these are self-adhesive tufts. I just bought a pack off of Fleabay. And we're just going to pop them on. Like so. So there's the base done. Now, I'm going to highlight the metal using Runefang steel. I'm going to use this to highlight both the silver metallic and the brass. So just edge highlighting all around the model. Come back in a sec and you'll see. So all the highlighting done on the metallic. This is as far as I'm going to take it for parade ready. So yeah, there you go. That is the Tombblade painted up, given a very much a green glow to it for the Necron power source, as it were. Like and subscribe if you want to see more of this sort of content. I do have a Ko-fi account where if you want to, you can buy me a coffee and support the channel. Any money raised will go towards hopefully buying new equipment so that I can record better videos. Subsequently, at the moment, I'm just using my phone and an editing software on my iPad to do the recordings and do the editing. So it would be nice to be able to expand on the kit so that I can do better videos. Anyway, hopefully you'll see me in the next video. Alright, take care. Bye bye.